Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my Week 7 NFL reactions. It's crazy that we're already halfway through the season. By the way, Giants fans, thanks again for Saquon. You know, that was a really stupid move, but hey, at least we benefited from it. You guys are really nice for doing this. Thank you guys for giving us Saquon. You guys, as much as I don't want to say Giants fans, you guys are the best. You totally helped us out a lot, and I feel bad for you guys a lot. We're going to waste little time and get right into it, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to do so. It's completely free. Every single step helps me out a lot. Trying to get to 700 or at least 1,000 by the end of the year very, very soon. Trying to get monetized very soon so I can get more content out to you guys. I love doing this. This is my occupation. I love doing it. Love getting my content out to you guys. Love giving you guys my NFL reactions. So if you haven't subscribed, do that. Make sure to do so. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. And let's react to Week 7 of the NFL. Alright, to start off, we have Thursday Night Football, which was the Broncos beating the crap out of the New Orleans Saints. I keep saying it week after week. I think the Eagles might have accidentally destroyed the whole Saints' pride and joy. So, sorry about that. Look at that, Bo Nix. Once again, didn't throw a touchdown, but 16 for 26, 164. He had a couple rushing yards, 75. Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns, 88 yards. He did okay, but it's still gonna take a little bit more of that for him to earn my trust back. Look at that receiving. You guys really couldn't get anything going. I mean, Troy Franklin was your lead receiver, and then Lucas Kroll was right behind him. But either way, just this Broncos team. I mean, the offense doesn't look necessarily good, but it doesn't look necessarily bad. Looking at the defense now, didn't pick Spencer Rattler off, but did sack him quite a few times. He even forced a fumble. Now looking at the Saints, Spencer Rattler, he's just not doing bad. He's not really getting a lot of help around him. 172 yards, 25 for 35, 85 QBR. Alvin Kamara was very limited. That's very odd to say considering this past year what he's been doing. Cedric Wilson had the score when it comes to receiving by none other than their third string quarterback because Spencer Rattler had to come out. You guys weren't able to pick off Bo Nix, weren't able to sack him either. Did force a fumble though. But just overall, I mean, I would sound the alarm if I were the Saints. That team is really nothing without Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, who is out for the year. So, yeah, if I were the Saints fans, I would be in trouble. Now we have the Jaguars beating the crap out of the Patriots. Overall, I as much as I don't want to say it, like right here, I don't think that any team looked really bad. I mean, this was... the score may not say it, but this is a good offensive game. Drake May continues to look really good. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. Receiving was led by Hunter Henry at 8 for 92. JaMycal Hasty and KJ Osborne, who had the scores. I forgot he existed. And as for interceptions, you guys weren't able to sack or pick off Trevor Lawrence. This defense has been getting eaten up. Looking at Trevor Lawrence now, he's nearly perfect. 15 for 20, 193 and a score. Tank Bigsby had the 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a day on the ground. Brian Thomas Jr. continues to be probably one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL right now, having 5 for 89 and a score. And you guys sacked Drake May twice. David Lloyd and Trayvon Walker weren't able to pick him off. Just overall, the Jaguars, I mean, I think their offense is starting to click. I mean, it's looking better each week, but there just need to be some changes. As for the Patriots, don't really expect much more. I mean, your roster is still a mess right now. It's going to take like a couple years to rebuild. Alright, and now we have the Bills absolutely destroying what I consider to be the worst team in the NFL right now, the Tennessee Titans. Looking at the Titans, Will Levis was so bad that they had to take him out. Mason Rudolph 25 for 40, 215, a touchdown, a pick. Did not do horrible, but just also didn't do good. He also had 13 yards on the ground. Tony Pollard led the rushing offense with 61 yards. Nick Westbrook, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. He had the score. Chikadze Okonkwo had 4 for 50. He was your leading receiver. Sacked. You guys were able to sack Josh Allen only once, and that was Arden Key, and not able to pick him off. Looking at Josh Allen now, it's amazing to me how Josh Allen has not had a single turnover yet. He didn't really do much on the ground, which is kind of unusual for him, but 323 passing yards, 21 for 33, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ty Johnson and Amari Cooper had the score. Amari Cooper's looking good with his new blue uniform. And as for sacks, for defense, you guys were only able to sack him twice, but you were able to pick him off. And Tyler Bass went 2 for 2. I mean, he's good. But overall, the Bills, I consider right now Josh Allen to be the front runner for MVP, considering he has a winning record and he hasn't had a single turnover yet. He had the most out of QBs last year. Now he has the least amount of QBs this year. So Stephon Diggs, I think we're now realizing who makes who. Alright, now we have what I consider to be the game of the year so far this year. We have the Lions beating the Vikings and ending the 5-0 streak, 31-29. Looking at Jared Goff, 22 for 25. He was nearly perfect. 282 touchdowns, no picks. Jared Goff, I would also maybe consider be in the MVP conversation. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 116, 2 scores. Also had 44 yards receiving. Receiving overall was led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 for 112 and a score. Khalif Raymond also had the score. J-Mo had -4 receiving yards. That's interesting. Guys had a couple sacks. Brian Branch continues to prove his dominance over the defensive side, getting that's his 4th or 5th interception. I think it's his 4th interception of the entire season. Now looking at the Vikings, Sam Darnold was also nearly perfect. 259, a touchdown, and a pick. Justin Jefferson also had 3 rushing yards. Aaron Jones, 14 for 93 and a touchdown. I had him on my fantasy. I was a happy boy. Justin Jefferson continues to prove why he's one of the best receivers in the league. 7 for 81 and a touchdown. Andrew Van Ginkel had 2 sacks from the defensive side. Ivan Pace Jr. and Jonathan Grenard. That 3 combo just continues to prove its dominance. You guys weren't able to pick off Goff once, but yeah. A lot of credit to Minnesota. You guys went on a fantastic run, but just the Lions are the better team this game. Alright, and now we have the Seahawks beating the crap out of Falcons by 20 points. Surprisingly, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he completed a pass. That's interesting. But either way, Geno Smith, 18 for 28, 207, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he does have the most throwing yards in the entire league right now. Kenneth Walker, 14 for 69 and a score. Also, 2 receptions for 24 yards and a score. Kenneth Walker, he had a day. DK Metcalf had him on my fantasy. I was super happy about that. JSN and Tyler Lockett just didn't really do much. But looking at the defensive side, you guys were able to force 3 turnovers on Kirk Cousins. Now, looking at Kirk Cousins, he was just awful in this game. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 232 yards. Bijan Robinson had him on my fantasy. I was super happy about that. Leading receiver was Drake London, of course, 6 for 63 and a score. And your defense was not able to do much. I mean, James Smith-Williams, he had a sack, but besides that, just not much. Falcons, that was a horrible game for this year. You guys looked great all year, but just, I mean, it's a bad game. It happens. And now we have the Bengals beating the Browns with Deshaun Watson suffering a nasty injury. If you watch the replay, I almost barfed right in my shirt because that was a nasty injury. But when he did come out, the Browns made it a close game. It just really proves that Deshaun Watson was the problem. Looking at the Bengals, Joey B, 15 for 25, 181, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I would also consider, even though they don't have a winning record, I would also consider maybe Joe Burrow to be an MVP candidate. Couldn't really get much going on the ground. I had Zach Moss on my fantasy. I was also barfing because of that. Jamar Chase has been by far the best receiver in the entire league right now so far. 5 for 51 and a score. T. Higgins also had a score. He was your leading receiver, but just overall, Jamar Chase has just been absolutely insane. Trey Hendrickson had a couple sacks. Overall, you guys had a couple of sacks and were able to pick off Sam Hubbard and Geno Stone were able to pick off the Browns quarterback. Now, looking at that, Deshaun Watson, you guys were alternating through 3 different quarterbacks the entire time. That is insane. Deshaun Watson, horrible, even though he only incompleted 2 passes. He's been pretty accurate this year. Jameis Winston threw the touchdown pass. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, horrible. Deshaun Watson, horrible. Just every week, although Nick Chubb did have his score, overall, it's just the same thing every week with the Browns. They can't get anything going on offense, and their defense gets eaten up. And that's the long and short of it. All right, now we have the Eagles kicking the ever-living crap out of the Giants. Giants fans, once again, thanks for Saquon. You guys really helped us out there. Overall, looking at our offense, Jalen Hurts, he didn't really have to do much. This was really a rushing game. 14 attempts, still did have 114 yards and a touchdown. I just love the improvement that Jalen Hurts has had from the start of the year to this year. From the start of the year to at this point of the year. I think this is where the Eagles are starting to hit our stride. But the real calling core goes to Saquon Barkley. What a game this guy had. 17 for 176 and a touchdown. It's funny that Saquon had more rushing yards than your entire offense had. Which in yards, just overall total yards, Saquon had more rushing yards than your guys' total offense. A.J. Brown continues to prove why he's the best receiver in the league, besides Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. 5 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown. Almost broke 100 yards for the 3rd consecutive game, which is crazy. And our defense, man, able to generate 8 sacks on Daniel Jones, man. This defense has been one of the best in the league so far. Looking at the Giants' offense, not much to say. Danny Dimes was horrible. The only player that really came to play was Dexter Lawrence. He might end up, since Aiden Hutchinson's hurt, he might end up getting Defensive Player of the Year, which is overall, defense couldn't stop anything, offense couldn't stop anything. Giants, we'll see you guys later this year, and you guys better bring your A game this time. And now we have America's ugly game of the week, where the Colts beat the Dolphins. I just hate what the Dolphins are doing right now. They brought in a quarterback, Tim Boyle, who in college threw for 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions, and that's the long and short of it. Tyler Huntley didn't do bad. Came out mid-game. Rushing offense couldn't do anything. Passing offense couldn't do anything. Jonnu Smith, 7 for 96. He was the only guy that showed up to play. Tyreek Hill Tyreek Hill has nobody throwing him the ball. I would leave the Dolphins if I were him. Defense really couldn't do anything. As for Anthony Richardson, Anthony Richardson's been really bad so far this year. I'm sorry to say, he's been awful so far this year. Tyler Goodson had the only touchdown. As for receiving, nothing could get going. Michael Pittman had a decent day. And Eliatu Latu, he had a sack. Just overall, defense could really not get anything going. Force a fumble. Just overall, I would sound the alarm if I were the Colts. Had Joe Flacco been in this game, you guys would have won by a lot more. And now we have another great game. We have the Texans beaten by the Packers, 24-22. C.J. Stroud had him on my fantasy. Not good at all. Joe Mixon just continues to be an absolute beast. Tank Dell had him on my fantasy. We're not going to talk about that. Just overall, receiving could not get anything going. Joe Mixon had a couple of receptions, but overall, highlighted by his rushing offense. He's the only one that really came to play. Defense, though, just was not that good. He had 2 picks. Was barely able to sack Jordan Love, and brings me to the Packers, where Jordan Love, I feel like every game, like, he has a lot of touchdowns, but he also has a lot of interceptions. He's tied for the most interceptions so far this season. 220 yards, which is good. Josh Jacobs, 12 for 76. Tucker Kraft had him on my fantasy. I saw that insane catch that he had in the end zone. That was good. That was good to watch. Dontavion Wicks also had a score, and so did Josh Jacobs. He had his first receiving touchdown of his entire career. Happy for him. Defense could not really get anything going. I mean, he had a couple sacks here and there, but that was basically it. And for once in my entire life, I didn't see Xavier McKinney get a interception. Just overall, I would sound the alarm if I were the Texans, because like CJ Stroud has just not been that good so far this year. I mean, your team has really been carried by Nico Collins and Joe Mixon. I'm sorry to say. Alright, and now we have another ugly game. It's where the Rams barely beat the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, I have no idea what's going on for you guys at the quarterback position. Gardner Minshew looked absolutely putrid. Aiden O'Connell, absolutely putrid. Alexander Madison looked pretty good, but Zamir White, awful. Trey Tucker, awful. Everybody, whole receiving room, everything. Brock Bowers actually has been playing the best tight end in the entire league. He has the most receptions in football by any tight end or receiver. But just besides him and Alexander Madison, awful. Max Crosby, awful. And looking at the Rams, Matthew Stafford did not have a good game. He was awful. Kyron Williams had a really good day. Tutu Atwell did decent. Tyler Johnson did decent. Overall, I have been sick to my stomach watching these two teams this season. It's been really hard to watch. Can we talk about the Commanders right now? Because, like, Commanders, can you actually beat a good team? Like, can you? Because, I mean, like... It's just, I mean, okay, looking at your guys' schedule. You guys lost to the Buccaneers. You beat the Giants. You beat the Cardinals, beat the Browns, and you beat the Panthers. Okay. Is that what you guys want? But that when you did get put up against a real good test, you guys got beat. So, I mean, like, I'm not impressed with the Commanders right now. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Like, call me when you guys actually beat some real competition. Looking at Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton just looked absolutely putrid. The entire game, only had 93 yards, 2 ugly picks. Bryce Young just was horrible. He had -4 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. The receiving game, rushing game, couldn't get anything going. Defense was absolutely horrible. Nothing could get going for the Panthers. Looking at Jaden, as much as I don't like you guys, I really do hope he's okay. He just cannot keep throwing his body around like that. Marcus Mariota did step up big time for you guys. Jaden Daniels, 3 attempts for 50 yards. He was good. Brian Robinson Jr. had a score. Zach Ertz had a score. Ben Sinnott had a score. And Dante Fowler and Emmanuel Forbes Jr. both had your interceptions. Commanders, we'll see what happens when we face you guys. We'll see you there. We'll see you in that competition because, like, you guys have not been anybody good. So, I mean, we'll see when you get put up against a real test like us. Next up, we have the Chiefs squeaking by the 49ers. The 49ers have looked putrid, like, just awful this year. And I will take credit for it. I predicted the 49ers downfall. Like I was telling a lot of 49ers fans, I was telling 49ers in my videos that, like, you guys were not going to be as good this year. But nobody listened, of course, and now just look what's going on. I mean, we'll start. You know what? We'll start with you, 49ers. Brock Purdy had arguably one of the worst games of his entire career. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but just overall, just was horrible. Looking at receiving now, George Kittle continues to be a monster. Defense really could not get a lot going. I mean, Diomandor Lenore and Khalil Davis. Yeah, Khalil Davis. They both had interceptions. Sorry for that. I was trying to pronounce their names. Now, looking at the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes just continues to be just awful. Just awful. And same with Travis Kelce. Just does not look good. Continues to be horrible. You guys were really carried by Mecole Hardman, who also had a couple receptions and a couple attempts. He had a touchdown to Kareem Hunt. Overall, you guys were really carried by Kareem Hunt this game. Even though, here's what I will say about the Chiefs. Even though that Travis Kelce, even though that their players are not performing at all, the reason that they are 6-0 is because they are so well coached. You know, that they are just... Andy Reid is such a good coach, and that's why you guys are winning. Andy Reid has been your guys' MVP. Not Mahomes, not Kelce. It has been Andy Reid. He has been your best player, and he doesn't even play on the field. So I just wish that, like, if Nick Sirianni was even a fraction of what Andy Reid is, then, like, we would be undefeated right now. Alright, I don't know what it's going to take for the Jets to actually win a goddamn game. But apparently it's not going to happen anytime soon. Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely horrible. One touchdown, 2 picks. Breece Hall had a decent day on the ground. He had a score. Braylon Allen looked absolutely putrid. Tyler Conklin had the receiving touchdown. Garrett Wilson had a pretty decent day. Devontae Adams didn't do anything. I mean, you guys traded for him, but only to not use him. As for sacks, you guys only got 1. Weren't able to pick off Justin Fields, and that can bring me to it was Russell Wilson, huh? I didn't watch this game, but it was Russell Wilson. He looked pretty good. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 264. Najee Harris had him on my fantasy. Oh, love him. Russell Wilson even had a rushing touchdown. And so he had 3 total touchdowns on the day. That is really good. George Pickens absolutely lit it up this game. Van Jefferson even had a receiving touchdown. Bishop Jr. even had 2 interceptions on the day. Just overall, I don't know what's going on with the Jets, but they've made every single change that you can imagine, yet they're still losing. So I don't know what to say anymore. And now we have the Ravens beating the Buccaneers. Man, what a game this was. What a game. What a freaking masterclass that Lamar Jackson had. 5 passing touchdowns, 281 yards, 17 for 22. Rushing, he ran a lot too. But Derrick Henry, what a guy. Man, like, just what a guy. I cannot believe how good you guys have been so far this year. Well, I mean, actually, I can. I mean, you guys are 5-2. You guys have won 5 games in a row now. Justice Hill got 1. Derrick Henry had 1. Rashad Bateman had 1. And Mark Andrews finally came alive. Love to see it. Defense. Marlon Humphrey got 2 interceptions. And which will take me to the Buccaneers, where Baker Mayfield, 31 for 45, 373 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not the most perfect game, but not one of the worst games. He had a great game. Bucky Irving had the rushing touchdown. Rachaad White just couldn't get anything going. Mike Evans had the touchdown. Rachaad White had 2 receiving touchdowns. I did hear that Chris Godwin is hurt. So is Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans did come out during the game. Cade Otton, though, deserves a lot of credit. 8 for 100. Just the defense could not stop this electric Ravens offense. And I got to give credit to both teams. Both teams are legitimate contenders. Just the Ravens were the better team coming out of this game. Alright, and now we have also America's putrid game of the week. We got Chargers losing to the Cardinals. No team was good. Justin Herbert was good. 349 passing yards. The only thing that could have capped it off was a touchdown, but he didn't get it. J.K. Dobbins, 14 for 40. Rushing game was really not that good. As for receiving, it was really, really spread out, but Will Dissly had 8 for 81. He was the highlight. Tier Tart had an interception and no sacks, surprisingly, on Kyler Murray. And that'll bring me to the Cardinals, where Kyler Murray was just not that good. Only 145 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. But he also had a rushing touchdown, which kind of did good for them. James Conner, I was facing him in fantasy, so that was almost real bad. I still won, but that was almost real bad. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, he's coming off an injury, so give him a couple minutes. James Conner, I mean, he had a day. And as for, the Cardinals defense, wasn't really able to do much. Just overall, Cardinals, you don't really look that good. Chargers, you don't really look that good either. But just Cardinals found a way to squeak by, and I give credit to that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for my Week 7 NFL reactions. But before we go, I'm going to give you guys my Pulse Metrics Performance of the Week. I wanted to give it to Saquon, but I just couldn't help but give it to Lamar Jackson. This guy was an absolute dog. He found the open man downfield. He barely missed. It's just those 5 passing touchdowns does it for me. I mean, Lamar Jackson is your Pulse Metrics Performance of the Week. Alright, now for real, that is going to do it for my Week 7 NFL reactions. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and make sure to subscribe. I mean, you guys don't need the whole speech. I said it at the beginning of the video. I've already bored you guys enough. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll see you all guys the next time I upload. Peace.